Good morning. How are you doing? Good, good. My name is Scott Dimstra. My pronouns are he, him. I am the library director for Hennepin County Library. I want to welcome you to our Minneapolis Central Library, but also welcome you to our second annual Coming Home Reentry Resource Fair. Over 200 attendees at our second annual one. So please give a round of applause for our staff and our community partners who made it happen. Before we begin, I wanted to ground us for the day as well, too. I wanted to offer the Hennepin County Land and Water Acknowledgement. Dakota, Makoche, Namne, Okichiyake. Dakota Land and Water Acknowledgement. As part of our commitment to address the unresolved legacy of genocide, dispossession, and settler colonialism, Hennepin County acknowledges that this magnificent land and vibrant waterways from which our institutions like our library benefits are located upon the cultural, spiritual, and indigenous homeland of the Dakota Oyate, Dakota Nation. The Dakota people originated at the confluence of the Minnesota Wakpa, Minnesota River, and Wakpa, the Mississippi River. For millennia, the Dakota Oyate acknowledge and embrace the immeasurable expanse of our circular world known as Onche Maka, or Grandmother Earth. This beautiful terrestrial grandmother provided the Dakota warm shelter when it was cold. She gave them shade when it was hot. She fed them when they were hungry and gave them water when they were thirsty. She's still the first role model to all her grandchildren, the two-legged, the four-legged, those that fly, those that crawl, those that rise from the ground, and those that flow. Onche Maka unwaveringly remains a nurturing and compassionate matriarch to present and future generations. The Dakota people's wise growth and ever-evolving relationship with Onche Maka's guidance enabled them to flourish. Their lives were immersed in and inseparable from the unique powers and varying gifts inherent in all parts of her natural world. Their daily prayers to the totality of life always concluded with a declaration, Mitaguye Oyase, another reverent acknowledgement of creation, meaning all my relatives. Furthermore, we recognize that a prominent term of endearment within Dakota society that is descriptive of the innumerable gifts or innumerable lakes and rivers within the Dakota homeland is the place name Minnesota Makoche, or Land of the Misty Waters. In this realm, the Dakota became a sovereign nation, a sovereignty that predates the sovereignty of the United States. The sovereignty status of the Dakota remains today. The four cohesive subdivisions of the Dakota Oyate responsible for the stewardship of this land are the Bede Wantankuwa, village of the Sacred Lake, Sisi-Tuwa, village of the Fish Scales, Wape Kute, village of the Shooting Leaves, and Wape Tuwa, village of the Leaves Bands. Hennepin County calls attention to Dakota's people's ongoing connection to this special place. Today, our county institutions continue to benefit from unfavorable treaties, military campaigns, and settler colonialism, which encouraged white newcomers to settle and colonize Native American territory. The county played a role in shaping the history of the Dakota people. This was enabled by laws such as the Homestead Act of 1862, which brought 75,000 settlers to Minnesota in its first 3 years of its enactment, resulting in the displacement and starvation of Dakota people. Atop this, the heinous 1863 Dakota Removal Act coercively displaced and removed Dakota and Ho-Chunk people from Minnesota after brutal incarceration at Fort Snelling. Therefore, Hennepin County acknowledges the capacity for today's county institutions, like our library, to work more closely and reparatively with the Dakota people, whose homeland we occupy, the Ojibwe and Ho-Chunk peoples, whose traditional homelands border the Dakota homeland in northern and southern Minnesota, and all First Nation peoples who currently live in or interact and associate with Hennepin County in a broader context, in creating transformative partnerships and alliances, convening conversations to explore possibilities, creating increased engagement and consultation with the Native American community, organizing events and workshops on Indigenous history, culture, and contemporary issues, and looking at the potential for developing land and water-based projects together. These words are important, and I feel privileged to be able to say them on behalf of Hennepin County and Hennepin County Library. But what is more important is that we convert words into actions. My call to action for you all today is simple. Please take some time to learn more about the history of this land, the people who lived on it and cared for it, and throughout colonialism and who are still here today. Learn about tribal sovereignty and what it means for our Native neighbors, and why the history is essential for us all, Native and non-Native allies alike. Because you are here, I know you're curious and community-minded individuals. Your local library has book lists and resources for your learning journey. Please consider browsing the library's website for a wealth of available information, or visit any library's information desk to help you get started. Miigwech, Wapita, thank you. I have to acknowledge today's event would not have happened without our library staff as well too. So our library staff at Minneapolis Central, our library staff within our community engagement department, they're wearing blue t-shirts. You'll see them around. They say coming home. Please give them a big, big round of applause for today's event. And for us at the library, the goal of today's event is that you feel welcome and you feel supported in our space, and that you have the opportunity to meet other caring professionals who are ready to support you in your journey. For us at the library, we'd love it if you got a library card. We'll make it very, very easy. This one, it's our Prince library card, so if you're a Prince fan, we have that opportunity for you, but you can choose from any of our other library cards. If you go out of this space, either turn to the right, or if you go out those doors, turn to the left. We have a table that has library resources. We'll be glad to walk you through the process of getting the library card today, which will allow you to use our public computers, print, check out materials, and you can use it at any one of our 41 locations throughout Hennepin County as well too. But we also know that today's event would not happen without partners. And our co-host today is Twin Cities Rise. And we want to thank them for their dedication to the resource fair. So please give a big round of applause for Twin Cities Rise. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce Twin Cities Rise Vice President of Program Operations, Alex Merritt. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott, for that introduction. Good morning. So excited again. Want to welcome you to the second annual Coming Home Reentry Resource Fair. We are so delighted at Twin Cities Rise to be a part of it. Would like to also honor those that are a part of Twin Cities Rise. Again, the team that is being hired, also the team that's in the audience that is supporting. Twin Cities Rise is honored, like I said, to be a co-partner and a co-leader in this effort. Since 1993, we have been on a mission to help those who are unemployed, underemployed, or recently out of incarceration get the tools, the skills, the resources, and the support they need to be able to live an empowered and employed life. And so you'll get resources and connections here. What we like to know, like I said, as our partnership with the community, it is understanding that, again, you are important, you are valuable, you are lovable, and that's really important to TCR. And it's a message that I told the team that we would share is that for those that are recently out of incarceration, the system likes to give people labels. And if you take nothing else today as you are going through the workshops, going through is realize that, again, you can drop all labels that are assigned to you. And the one that I invite you to drop is felon. You are not a felon. You may have done some things that have felony convictions. That may be some activities in your past, but felon is an identity, and you are not a felon. At Twin Cities Rise, we say you are lovable, you are important, you are valuable, and therefore you will be empowered. So if you walk away with nothing else, let you know that today can be the first day of the best days of your life. If you take advantage of the programs and the opportunities that are here, ask your questions, understand that whatever has been in your past can stay in your past unless you bring it to the future. So I invite you to leave it in the past. This team has put together an amazing day for you. There's amazing resources. There are amazing connections. And more than that, you have a community that is committed to your well-being and your growth. And so I invite you to take advantage of that. And we thank you for that. Like I said, let today be the first day of the best days of your life, and we would love to be a part of that. And to get that day started for you, we have an amazing panel that's about to start. We have outstanding individual with us here to facilitate our panel discussion. Nicole Pillow is a certified master trainer and client manager of Twin Cities Rise, specializing in emotional intelligence and cognitive restructuring support. Personal and professional growth is her whole game. So if you get a chance to talk to Nicole offline, do that. It'll be a treat, I promise you. Since 2024, she has had the meaningful opportunity to deliver Twin Cities Rise's signature personal empowerment training at Shakopee Women's Prison. With over 10 years of experience, she empowers job seekers by fostering confidence, resilience, and transformative change through personal empowerment. A published writer, certified life coach, seasoned host, transformational speaker. Did I mention she's on our team at Twin Cities Rise? Nicole is dedicated to helping individuals and organizations foster transformative change from the inside out. Let's give it up for Nicole Pillow.
All right. Hey, everybody. Well, hello. Let me get a hello. Oh, yeah, let me get a oh, yeah. Okay, we are in for a treat today. Can I tell you? We have an incredible conversation, an incredible panel that's going to lean in, and quite frankly, not necessarily the most comfortable situation of a conversation, right? It can be a bit awkward, but I'm telling you, I've met with these individuals, we've spent some time together, and we are in for a treat. So with that, I just want to, again, welcome you. Thank you for joining us for this kickoff. It is an absolute kickoff for the Coming Home Reentry Resource Fair. And let me just say we are glad you're here. We've been preparing for you. We've been preparing for each and every one of you. So we do have a very, as I mentioned, important conversation ahead of us. And the title of our panel today is called Beyond the Record, Reclaiming Identity and Building a Future. Let me say that again. Y'all want to hear it again? Okay. Beyond the record, y'all do it with me. Say beyond the record. Beyond the record. Reclaiming identity. And building a future. Ooh, that sounds good. Y'all sound good. Let's do it one more time. Let's go. Beyond the record. Beyond the record. Reclaiming identity. And building a future. Okay, so we're going to be discussing the journey of coming home, which is a journey that it can often feel overwhelming, but it can also be a journey that's filled with hope. It can be filled with support and community. And so we're going to meet our panelists. We'll start with that. And then we're going to dive into the conversation. So, without further ado, are you ready to meet your panelists? Yes. Okay, so first we have Andre Anderson. He is a justice-impacted scholar, educator, and advocate whose reentry journey has shaped his commitment to expanding access, dignity, and opportunity for others navigating similar paths. After completing 7 years of small group facilitation while incarcerated, he transitioned into higher education, where he now supports students through equity and inclusion work at Metro State University. Today, he uses his lived experience to mentor others, influence institutional practices, and model what it means to return with purpose and agency. Please give it up for Andre Anderson. Come on out, Andre. Come on out. Woo! Yes. Welcome, Andre. Welcome, welcome. Next, we have Isaiah Goodman. He is a creator, connector, and a culture shaper. His journey has been unexpected, to say the least. He went from private education, working for a Fortune 500 company, owning businesses, and then to federal prison. Now he's home rebuilding in the world of fitness. He's here to spark something real, share his story, and invite you to be a part of it. Let's give it up for Isaiah Goodman. All right, Isaiah, welcome, Isaiah. Okay, all right. Next, we have Brett King. Now, Brett, he's an enrolled member of the Red Lake Band of Chippewa Indians. He is currently a senior at Metropolitan State University, majoring in individualized studies and plans to obtain his master's degree afterwards. Now, Brett experiences life after reentry every day. And what he's come to realize is that there are unseen barriers present in every system around us. Now, here's an interesting new fact that I found out today, that Mr. Brett King landed an opportunity, full-time employment as a medical case manager at the Indigenous Peoples Task Force. Let's give it up for Brett King. Come on out, Brett. Come on out. Have a seat. All right, Brett. Wow, that's exciting. Brett told me that about a few minutes ago. That's exciting news. Congratulations. Okay, and finally, we have Kelsey Wydell. Now, Kelsey is a mother of two who is rebuilding her foundation in the real world since her recent release from Shakopee Prison. Now, since coming home, Kelsey has established full-time employment. As a participant in the Empowered Reentry Full-Time Employment training program at Twin Cities Rise, she has gained a deeper understanding of her emotions, and she intentionally uses her emotional intelligence training skills daily in her personal and her professional life. So let's give it up for Kelsey Wydell. Kelsey, come on out, have a seat. All right. Okay. So let me just, we're gonna dive into the conversation in a moment, but I also want to set you up for something, okay? Because we're gonna have a conversation, and it's not gonna be just about how being justice impacted affects us. We're going to dig in to some much deeper issues around how we can find ourselves grappling with identity. That's a big one. How we have to conquer the fears of what am I going to do once I am released, and where are these resources going to come from? We're going to take a closer look at self-care. Like, what does my self-care need to look like? What about routines? What are the mindset shifts that are necessary to be successful? There's internal work. Say inside work. There is inside work that is necessary to be successful on the outside. That's right. So we're going to hear from our panelists on, all right, well, what is that inside work? How do we shift that state of mind? And then we're also going to have a chance to look a little bit closer at, how did they overcome? How do we overcome those challenges that seem insurmountable and stay the course and have the breakthroughs that we need to be successful? And I'm going to say something. Each and every one of these individuals up here as a panel, they're brave. They're brave. It takes bravery to, can I have a seat now? I'm going to have a seat. Bring my little clock, because the clock is necessary so we can stay on time. And let me tell you why. We're gonna have just about 53-ish minutes for this portion of the conversation. But then, once we have the conversation, we have the opportunity to do a Q&A. So that's where you all come in. So I want you to be listening for, as you're hearing things, as you might be like, wait, that catches my attention. We've given you some cards. Did we get those out, Seabram? You've got your cards? Let me see, wave them in the air. I need to know, I don't trust you. Let me see. There it is, okay. So you got your cards, and you got your pens. If you need a pen, if you didn't get something, we have a whole incredible team that are literally been preparing to serve you, so just let us know what you need, and we got you, okay? But I want you to take note. If there's a question that you have, go ahead and jot it down on the card. Now, I would ask this, I will request, keep the question kind of, a simplified, not too long, because we got to keep it moving. We won't be able to get to all of the questions. We're going to do as much as we can, and you're going to have the opportunity to read your questions off. We have some microphones. We'll pass around. You can do it that way, or we can collect the cards, and we can read them for you. Okay? Some folks may not want to be on the mic, but we still got you. All right? Sound like a plan? Oh yeah? All right, that's the plan. All right. So, y'all ready to dive in? Okay, this is the moment we've been preparing for. So, we're going to start out talking about identity and institutionalization. One of the things that remains true, and I heard Alex call this out when she was connecting and speaking with you, and she said, you are not a felon, you are not the labels. Do you remember when she called that out? Okay, but the reality is that those labels, even though they're lies as to identity, they can actually begin to influence an individual's self-perception, especially when it's prolonged over time. You got to understand that. That gets right. It's around you. It's all the time, not just inside, but also outside. And you're still referred to as the title, not who you are as a person. And so we're going to dig into that. And so the first question that I have for my panel is so it's a two-part question. We'll kind of work our way through, okay? So how did those titles influence you? Like with the real. Where did they land? How did they influence you? And I would say from the space of self-perception, okay? Like how did it land as it relates to altering self-perception? That's the first portion. And then the second portion is going to be more about what did you have to learn or unlearn about your worth and value to move forward in your personal and professional life? What did you have to learn, unlearn, relearn about your own identity to move forward in a successful way, okay? So let's start with the first portion. Let's see. Does anybody want to jump in? Because I know, Andre, when we spoke, this hit you strong. My note literally said very strong connection with this question. So where did that land for you?
Yeah, thank you for that, and thank you everyone for being here today. It is a great honor to be part of this panel. For me, identity makes up so much of who I am. I did 12 years in a Minnesota prison, and I got out last August. During that time in prison, it is so hard not to become the label. I remember when I first came in, my ID said inmate, then offender, then injustice or incarcerated person, and those labels kept changing, and each iteration of that was getting closer to the label I wanted, but not quite there. And so carrying that burden of being a convicted felon in reentry has been difficult. When people ask, what do you like to be called, justice impacted or all the plethora of terms, I just say person. And trying to reclaim that identity is I'm a person first and foremost, and everything else is second. And when you label somebody something, there's so many things that come with that. If you hear, like we spoke earlier, felon, all the connotations that come with that. But when we hear person trying to re-enter the world, so many doors open up for you with that. So it is a constant struggle. Getting out, I felt like everybody knew I just got out of prison. Went to a store and I'm like, everybody knows I just got out. And I still feel like when I walk into a room that people know I'm somehow different, that I'm somehow less than. And that is something that's internal, and I have to work to get through that. And I found the biggest way to reclaim that identity, the biggest way for me to start to shed that old just persona, being in prison and all that's entailed with that, is just to share my story. I can share my story that I'm justice impacted. I can share my story that I just got out of prison. And much to my surprise, I think one of the biggest moments for me was going to class about a week out of prison. The professor, I decided to share that I just got out of prison. And I thought there'd be questions, what for, this, or grab their purse and move over. No, what happened was, welcome home, Andre. We've been waiting for you. And I just can't tell you how much that affirmation has meant to me. And so when I think of identity, it's internal because I have to own my story. I have to be able to be comfortable with myself. But it's also external. It speaks to all the people in the room here today who have given people second chances. In this month of April, when we really look at second chances, it's a second chance at identity. And when you give somebody that new identity to be a person, so many things can open up for them.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. I'm going to have you pass the mic to Isaiah. So Isaiah, a.k.a. Zay, when we had a conversation, you had a very interesting twist around this subject matter. A lot of the criticism you experienced happened beforehand, like before you actually transitioned inside. Can you share a little bit about that and how that landed for you?
Yeah, it's tough. So I faced 43 months away. Back in 2020, ended up turning myself in. Nobody knew, right? So the feds didn't know. Nobody knew. I ended up turning myself in. And they completed their investigation, their charges within 90 days. So basically gave them everything, was like, hey, here it is. I'm going to face the consequences. February 6th, I'll never forget. February 6th, 2021, they put a report. As a result of FBI investigations, you know, boom, 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 boom. I'm like, they didn't even give me credit for my own thing, right? I turned myself in. And man, the posts, the social media posts, the random messages, the people that they don't know who I am, they don't know my story, they don't know that I, you know, graduated from a top school, that I worked at Target, you know, they're calling me all sorts of things. And that was tough to deal with that immediate transition from, you know, hey, I see myself as a valuable member in society to, you know, everybody else sees me as like trash, right? And then the transition again, kind of like Andre mentioned, to 303-94709, right? Not even a person, just a number.
What was the number?
303-94709. I remember it. And I see my friend Dave. What's up, buddy? You know, once you transition to that, it's like, wow, I'm not even a person anymore, just a number. And finding that identity again of, all right, who am I going to be during this experience?
Yeah.
So I can kind of like go down in my shell and become this like hollowed out version of who I was, or I can try to be myself while I'm gone, right? So getting into different volunteer activities, leadership groups, trying to stay in shape, those sort of things, trying to hang on to this identity so then when I get back out, I can be as close to that as possible.
Yeah, you had mentioned, the words I recall, you said you had to find your groove inside so that you could establish it even before. Is that right?
Yep, yeah, exactly.
Right on.
So really deciding who am I going to be now, right? Yep. So I'm not just this number, but I am a person. And then who am I going to be on the outside, right? So I talk about this a lot with fitness. When I talk to people and they're like, oh man, I'm big boned, or I've never been able to lose weight. I'm like, okay, I want you to act like the person you want to be, right? What does she do? She eats healthy, she works out. Start acting like her. And the more you act like that person, then you become that person, right? And so that identity was really, really huge for me of how can I act like the person I want to be when I get home while I'm gone.
Yeah, that's good, right? Yes. All right, so Mr. King, I want to chat with you next and share with our audience here. I recall that this component landed pretty deep in your life as it relates to, you know, the identity that society put on you. You had an experience, as I recall, with a landlord that resulted in kind of like you took that on. If you would share.
Yeah. Well, I remember
Yeah.
when I first got out in 2019, you know, this was the first time I went to prison. You know, I did a total of 116 months in prison, which is about 9.5 years or so. But I remember I dealt with the landlord, right? And I was trying to rent a place. I had a job, I had a vehicle. I was, you know, being a productive member of society, I guess you could say. And tried to call a rent a place, and this landlord tells me, I said, "Do you rent to felons?" And he's like, "No, I have kids." And I'm like, "I have kids too," you know. And then I started to believe this this narrative that society had about, you know, felons, right? And then I started to go against the grain, and I started like, all right, if that's what you think of me, then I'll show you what I can do. And then 7 months later, I was back in prison, you know. But I guess with identity, it's just reclaiming your humanity again, you know, because you are dehumanized to a number. I remember when I first got out, and it was it took me about 2 months to get used to being called by my first name, you know. And it's really an experience to it's hard to explain. Like, you have to live through it to understand it.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. It's Beth tonight.
So Kelsey, I want to get your thoughts on this. I know that you shared like the shift of like identity from your regular life to transitioning inside, and then having labels. And you shared with me that that was a really tough space. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so inside,
Yep.
coming from the street to inside a female prison, you're going to get labeled. It's inevitable. There's only a few of us in the female prison, so it's all levels. And it's easy to say, well, my crime isn't as bad as her, but
Yeah.
we are all felons,
Yeah.
and we're all here. So it was easy for me to fall into that mindset where, well, it's not, mine isn't as bad as hers. And the fact is that we're all in this together, and we all have to do this time together. So let's get used to being here and doing this. Shifting to being out, there is like, I think that for females,
Hold up the mic.
it's a little harder because with the crime that I have, I'm labeled crazy. Anytime that I'm angry, oh, you're crazy. And that's not true. I had a moment in my life where I made a mistake, and I
There
was
it
very
is.
impulsive.
Yeah.
And I'd done my time. I'm here, I'm out. I'm not who you think I am just because I did what I did. So getting used to being able to control my emotions instead of acting them out is something that is very hard. It's difficult because obviously life is hard, and on the inside you have that barrier between you and the COs, and you think about what's the repercussion. Out here, I can talk to people the way I want to and say what I need to say, and the repercussion is going back.
Yeah.
It's not just to the hole for 30 days. It's going back. So that's something that I think about daily.
Yeah. I remember you saying that staying grounded in, how did you put it? Staying grounded in what the choices you did make grounds you in the new choices you're choosing now. Did I get that?
Oh yeah, interactions
Yeah.
with people are completely different.
Yes.
So with the EI training that you taught me while I was inside,
Proud.
in difficult situations where I would normally had crashed out, that's what people are calling it now, where I was where I would
Speaking of
I would
crazy,
pop
they
off
call it-
on people.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't care how you feel. I don't care, like, don't talk to me that way. Don't disrespect me. Don't think that you're gonna get away with whatever it is you think you're getting away with. Now I'll simply, okay,
Yeah.
it's over. The conversation is done. You said what you had to say. You feel how you feel. Let's move on.
All right. Okay, so what I want to ask kind of, and this is, again, we're still on the conversation of identity. So since then, how have you been able to acknowledge what I like to call sacred history, acknowledge the sacred history without allowing it to inform who you are? How does that, without allowing it to inform your identity? How do you acknowledge it? How do you acknowledge what's happened, the history, and yet not give it the power to form the identity? Do any of you have a thought on that?
Yeah, I'd like to jump in on
Great,
that. I
great.
think we can't erase our history. Our history is who we are. Oftentimes I think, well, what if I didn't go to prison? Or what if I would have took a left instead of a right? How would my life have been? And it's helpful to think about that sometimes, but we have to live in reality. And so for myself, the way I can deal with that is to do something with my life now. I often think that reentry can really be the great equalizer in that it gives us an opportunity. And when you have an opportunity to do something different, your new accomplishments, your new roles, new jobs, new things that you can do start to take the spotlight, people start recognizing you for that. Your history never goes away, but it starts to fade. Yeah. And I thought it would take years and years to get to this point, and I'm just barely 9 months out, and my identity is in my new life now. Whether it's at school, whether it's working, whether it's running, whatever it may be, that is what people, I hope, know me for. And yes, I do have a past, and that informs who I am today. But through reentry, through this opportunity, as I call it, I've been able to pave a new path, and that's really helped me to shed that old identity.
Wow, all right. Now, Brett, you had said that embracing identity was a big part of how you've moved forward into your current success. You said that was a big piece, being able to talk about it.
Yeah, like me, I've embraced my past. You know, like I mean, look at, I'm sitting here right now, right? Because I've embraced my story, because I've embraced my past. And, you know, if I didn't go through what I went through, I wouldn't be where I'm at today, right? You know, my journey, I started my college academic career while incarcerated in May of 2022 through the TREC program, right? It's the Transformation and Reentry Through Education and Community. And if I didn't go to prison, I probably wouldn't have a college degree right now. I graduate May 4th, right, with honors.
Yes.
You know, I'm going right into a master's program in the summer. So I'll be halfway done with my master's degree at the end of the summer. So I'm, you know.
Yes. Wow.
Like, acknowledge it, right? Just embrace it. Like that journey will make you who you are today, right? And I always tell, a lot of people try to forget their past, right? And I always, I remember, you know, how I felt when I was in prison, when nobody answered the phone. You know, when you're waiting in that phone line, when you're locked down, you can't go to the rec or anything. I always remember how I felt, you know, going during those days, because that'll make sure that I never go back. You know, just remembering that feeling of loneliness. You know, a lot of people don't acknowledge that. Like, prison is lonely. You know, that life is pretty lonely, man. Like, you're away from your kids, your family, everybody, you know. But yeah, I embrace it.
Yeah. All right, Brett. Well, thank you for that. I'm gonna continue to move our conversation along. We're talking about identity. We're talking about not allowing for our sacred history to define our identity. But what I'd like us to converse on next is the idea that, you know, when we're justice impacted, a lot of things can change. Not just our freedoms, but our, you know, it can be our housing, it can be our family, our relationships. How about employment? And all of that can shift. And sometimes it's those shifts that can be a part of kind of how we even end up incarcerated. So what I want to talk about from you next is when you first came home, what were your biggest hurdles? What were your biggest concerns?
For me, some of my biggest hurdles were just that point of identity. I know that it's hard for felons to obtain jobs, to find employment anywhere. And once I did, it was communicating with the other people at work about my crime, especially with my manager. It's something that I have to speak about. It's something that I have to communicate with them about, because obviously they're going to run that background check. So then if you don't have a trusted manager or supervisor, that information is going to get out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
I know you mentioned in our conversation, like, this idea of, like, people are going to ask, hey, what did you do before this job?
Yeah.
And then you're like a deer in the headlight
yeah,
initially, and then you learned how to.
explain, be truthful, embrace my past. It is what it is. You call a thing a thing. I've done what I've done. It isn't who I am today. It is who I was. And it definitely shaped me into who I am becoming.
Yes.
And here we are today. You just have to let go of that shame and guilt. You have to stand on who you were and move forward. Without talking about it, there is no moving forward. You have to call a thing a thing. It is what it is.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Kelsey. Isaiah, I'd love to hear from you. What were some of your biggest concerns when you transitioned home? What were some of the hurdles that you faced?
Yeah, so kind of like Andre mentioned, feeling like everybody knew, right? I'm going to go home and everybody's going to be talking about me, wondering what happened and giving me a hard time like they were before I left. And what I found is most people, they don't care, right? They're involved in their own world. They're doing their own thing, and there's a whole bunch of new stuff to be worried about. I think for me, one of the most frustrating things was waiting and waiting and waiting for this big date to come. And I'm like, finally, I'm free. I can go do all these things I've been thinking about and planning for. And then, I'm through a halfway house, and they're like, oh, wait, you can't do that. I'm like, I'm going to go do this. And they're like, nah, you can't do that either. Okay, well, I'll go do this. And they're like, hey, JK. So actually, nonviolent crime, white collar crime, applied to get a bartender job at Medina Country Club. And they were cool with it. The BOP said no. I was like, I don't have any drugs or alcohol in my jacket. They're like, we don't care, because you're just like everybody else, right? And so it's really frustrating where it's like, I'm doing all the things, I'm making some progress, and then they stop you. Or based on the home confinement issues or like the rules, right? I go to have dinner with a friend, the restaurant is at a hotel. Can't go.
Oh.
Like, why? Oh, that's rules. You can't go to a hotel. Okay. I thought I was free, right? No, you can't go there. So that is one of the biggest frustrations for me is I'm so close to like being free, but there's still restrictions and like little tie downs. So just trying to learn to be patient, right? Hey, I'm almost there. I've got more wiggle room than I did while I was gone, right? But I'm still sort of under their watch for a few more months. So managing that and kind of understanding those expectations, it's been huge.
Wow. Okay. Man, it's every way you turned, it was like, can't do that. Wow. Okay. Anyone else feeling a sense of what was the biggest hurdle? What were your biggest fears, like, of what, even when it comes to resources? In fact, let's go there. When it came to staying motivated and moving your life forward, what were some of the specific supports that were necessary? What helped you stay motivated and move forward?
This one really comes close to me with getting out. I echo what Isaiah and everyone else said on this. I really like the piece of my My difference doesn't have to define me. It can be my destiny. And leading into that and having this idea of what reentry is and being ready, and then you get out and you hit barriers. I can't get a pass there. I need a week notice to ask to come somewhere. I'm on pass right now to be here today and working through those challenges. You can do it if you want it bad enough. And I think sometimes reentry gets narrowed down to too small of a thing where it's, do you have housing, do you have a job, do you have transportation, then you're good. And I had those things right out of prison. I had living in a halfway house, took the bus, had a job. But I was missing two things in my reentry journey. And once I found those, everything opened up. And those two things were belonging and purpose. And when you feel like you belong at school, when you feel like you belong at your job, when you feel like you belong in organizations like Mile in My Shoes or other groups that come together and show you what community is. There's no transactional thing. You show up, you give, you get. And when I found those two things, I was able to overcome those challenges of the halfway house, overcome those challenges of being on supervision, overcome those challenges of getting tons of interviews, but we're sorry, we're going with someone else. Getting those, but when you're in community and you can talk to somebody about that, you can help you through it and find out other people have went through it. And then to hear my friend Brett land a really good job after dozens of rejections, it gives me hope that I can still do that same thing. So,
All right. Give me a hand on that. Yeah. So Brett, I know, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well. I know family was an important component for you on support. Maybe you could share a little bit about how restoring relationships with your healthy ones was a part of your specific thing that was needed.
Yeah, a part of the reentry process is it's community, purpose, and belonging, right? A lot of people think that organizations and people think that reentry is just service navigation, like, oh, we're gonna get them a job, get them this, this, and this. That's it. But family, family ties, connections, healthy relationships, and also keeping boundaries with your loved ones that are not good for you. Like, I remember I had to set boundaries with my mother and my sister because they were still in active addiction. So I literally had to cut ties with them for months. And then, but by doing that and living a positive lifestyle, my sister's sober over a year now. She's just had a baby, so she's doing really good.
Yeah.
My mother came back around, and it's but it's good just like to realize how setting boundaries and living a positive lifestyle will impact those around you, especially family.
Yeah. Was it hard to? Well, let me just pause here for a minute. I want to go too quick through that because it can be real challenging to set boundaries with the ones closest to us. Oh yeah. Yeah. So what was your how? How did you make that, how did you create that mental, emotional, psychological distance needed to be well with that?
I mean, I started in prison, I started not calling home or not calling them, because half the time they wouldn't answer because whatever was going on with their life, and then
Yeah.
It's really easy to cut the outside world off while you're in prison, and a lot of people, a majority of us suffer from PTSD, and that's one of the side effects of PTSD is numbness. You know what I mean? You're able to just shut emotions down. So I believe that maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Now I want to, Kelsey, hear from you. Again, we're talking about what specific supports were needed, and I'd like to get into some of the specifics around, I think you mentioned like bus cards and just things that were the practical. Can you speak a little to that? What were the supports needed on that, and how were you able to get some of those needs met?
So, like Brett, I cut off a lot of my family, active addiction, toxic. So when I got out, I didn't have anybody. I didn't have any resources to walk into. So TCR really helped with everything. Clothes for work, bus passes, helping rebuild my resume, a lot of everything that I needed resource-wise. I know that I can contact my coach and she's gonna be right there all the time. It doesn't matter what time of day, she's gonna hit me back and say, all right, I got you. Just give me a moment.
Any TCR coaches in the house? Yeah? Rich, it's okay. Yes. So important. I mean, it's the fine details, but it all matters in giving us what we need in order to move forward and to have the supports and have the community. And so thank you for reflecting on that. I want to talk a little bit now about the internal work. The internal work, some of you have already started to talk about relationships and having to move some of those around. But I want to hear a little bit more about what were some of the shifts around mindset, states of mind, your beliefs system, if you will. What are some of those internal shifts that you personally needed to make for you?
I think for me, one of the things we talked about in our conversation was gratitude, right?
Yes.
Just being thankful to have opportunities or time and space to do things. So we had mentioned a couple of times being locked down, and I saw the fog today, and I was like, oof. I remember being stuck when there's fog rolling in, and you can't do anything for hours. You know, it might be all day. And, just a little moment of like, I get to go outside today and do whatever I want. That's cool, right?
Yeah.
So those little moments of, oh man, we're out of whatever from the store. I can go get that. I don't have to wait 6 days, right? So I think changing that, the mindset to I get to or I'm thankful for, right? And then what's so funny is the universe is like, oh, you're grateful for that? Here's some more,
Oh,
right?
that's so good.
It always seems to work that way.
Oh, that's
right?
so good.
Yeah.
Say that again. Just say it one more time so we can all hear that this morning.
So when we're wanting, the universe is like, okay, you're going to keep wanting that, right? But when you're grateful and you're like, man, I'm thankful for what I do have, the universe is like, okay, now you get to have more of that.
Oh, that right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good. Zay, I also want to, it's so important that we touch base on a really poignant part of our conversation. I mean, I carried it for days, actually. When you talked about having the courage to understand what mindset led to the choices that you made and how far back it went. Yeah. I would really appreciate if you would share about that.
Yeah, so that was tough. As I mentioned, I had turned myself in, right? So there was no big kick in the doors, investigation, and that sort of thing. And so while I'm gone, I'm sitting and thinking, how did I get myself into this situation, right? What logical steps did I think I was taking that led to A, to B, to C, to D, to me being, locked up in Duluth? And that introspection is tough. It's grimy to sit there and work through like, well, I thought that was going to work. That didn't work. But the reason I did that was because of this. But if that one thing would have happened, then everything would have been okay. But it goes back years and years and years. And this is, if you think about restorative justice and childhood trauma, I'm sure some of you are informed on that. There's some stuff that one thing happened in high school and it changed how I thought. And to go dig all the way back to that, like, dang, that was it? Like, that changed the little, like, trajectory. So then I went down this way and then that decision and that decision. So to be honest with myself and think about how I led myself to those decisions, now it just helps me be a little bit more aware of what comes next. Right?
And it was, and here was what I heard: trying to prove worth. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that for me. Yep.
That was at the foundation. You said I went all the way back to the foundation.
Yep.
Trying
to prove that I was enough, right? And so that led to this decision, that decision, go here, work there.
There it is.
Yep. And then that led to my crime. And once I was able to realize that, and then like we talked about a couple times, changing that identity, realizing, hey, I'm enough, right? Just like the motto that Twin Cities Rise has, that has helped tremendously now in just being myself and doing what I can and affecting my little world, and that's enough.
Yeah. And I really appreciate us speaking on that. And how many others did you have to think back, kind of look at patterns? Patterns are an important component.
Yeah, I echo everything Isaiah said. I think gratitude is so foundational.
Yes.
And when you were answering the question, I thought back too. You know, sitting in prison for 12 years gives you more time to think than you ever need. But it allowed me to think about that. And for me, I hated being slighted. If I felt like I got cheated by somebody or slighted, that was my motivation to do things, to get back, to prove them, to do these things. And I always operated out of that mindset for so long. And I had this realization about 4.5 years in prison, part of restorative justice, that I realized the world doesn't owe me anything. The world doesn't, it's not fair, and things happen. And if you want to make something out of life and be happy and positive in those, it's a choice. And I just remember waking up the next day and thinking, like, I'm going to be positive today. I'm going to do my best. Even though I'm in prison, I'm going to be positive. And every day since, I've tried to wake up with as much positivity and energy as I can. And sometimes the day beats me down, and by the end of the day, I'm not. But if I don't start the day off like that, it's really hard to finish in a good place. So that's one thing that's really helped me through my time. And the other thing is a little win. I remember when I was first in county jail, just arrested, my dad asked me, "Did you make your bed today?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You need to get a small win every day and build on that." So I made my bed, and I did the whole 4,324 days that I was gone. I made my bed every day.
Yes.
And that was just one little win. It was one thing I got up and I made a good choice right away, and building off that. So I think it's changing the way you show up. But, you know, I've said before, frame shifts are free. Right? You can look at the world, it's cruel, it's unjust, it's bad, it's all these things. And you can find things to validate that. Or you can say, people have worth. There's good things in the world. And though I might have got cheated, though I might have got slighted in something, that's okay. I can still keep going. I can still continue to show up how I want to. So I've always said, you have the choice to view the world how you want. You have a choice to view yourself how you want. And just that mental shift doesn't cost anything. But you have to make that choice. You can think about it as long as you want. But until you say, I'm going to be grateful. I didn't even think about the fog until you mentioned it. It's foggy, can't go to chow, can't go outside, can't do anything.
Yeah.
I forgot about that, but it's so true. Just to be thankful for the fog instead of, oh, it's a gloomy day. So just those little things matter so much.
Ooh, that's so good. You said mental shifts are free?
Mental shifts are free.
Let's try that, everybody. Mental shifts are free. Ooh, don't cost not a nickel. Not a nickel. That's amazing. Yeah. Such a powerful way to look at this. And so important, right? Because if we don't, then what we're very clear about is if we don't get to the root things, if we don't uncover the roots, they repeat. Patterns that are not exposed at the roots repeat. So this right here has my attention. When we talk about uncovering, we do that a lot in emotional intelligence training at Twin Cities Rise. And, you know, we talk about, hey, what are those patterns? We got to deal with that. Because if we don't, they're running subliminal, just like a computer has a program running in the background. So do we. and it's running. And it is, whether we're aware of it or not, or until it becomes conscious, it's driving choices whether we like it or not. So I love that we're calling a thing a thing. Come on. We call things a thing in here. Say, call a thing a thing. Yeah, call a thing a thing. That's how we own it, because when we own it, we move forward through it. Now, another thing about calling a thing, let's deal with guilt and shame. Let's deal with guilt and shame, because a lot of times guilt and shame is wrapped up in these experiences. And guilt, shame are very powerful emotions. They can either move us towards change, or they can keep us stuck. Guilt and shame, it can move us towards change or keep us stuck. So I want to talk about guilt and shame, and I want you to share, if you could, how did guilt arise during your reentry journey? Maybe through isolation, self-sabotage, possibly people-pleasing. Brett, I think you talked about people-pleasing, avoidance potentially, but let's talk about that. Let's call it out. Guilt and shame, where did it land?
Well, this makes me think back to my my ACEs score, right? And how being an ACOA, you know, adult child of an alcoholic, whatever, I confuse love and sympathy, right? I feel sympathetic for people when I think that you know, like, and I'm overly loyal to the wrong people. And is that what you're referring to? And well, nowadays I
Yep.
tend to agree to everything, you know, like, oh yeah, I'll do it, and then I'll double book myself and I'll get overbooked and realize that, you know, I put myself in a situation where I'm like, oh, what do I do now? I got to choose, you know, one or the other. But
I think you talked about perpetual burnout,
oh yeah,
something like that.
on the verge of burnout all the time.
There it is.
All the time, you know, like
Yeah.
I'm always on the verge of burnout. I mean, I work full time, I'm in school full time, and it's like, what do I do? You know, I have no time for myself. I mean, I'm trying to squeeze in every little thing possible, you know, and I feel like I'm always on the verge of burnout. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to have better self-care now.
Yes, yes, yes. And you had mentioned, because one of the things about, we're talking about guilt, we're talking about shame, you know, emotions aren't good or bad. And guilt, you know, guilt can actually lead us towards responsibility and repair. You know, we talked about the heaviness that can keep us stuck, but it can also drive us towards responsibility, repair, and changed behavior. And so, Brett, while we're speaking with you, and then I'll move with some of the others, but you also talked about how influence from other people helped you see what was possible with change and being open to influence, like pushing through the guilt and being open to influence. Can you talk on that?
Yeah, like I would see other people around me doing positive things, and I would just keep on pushing, right? And now I think I'm going to answer this question like this. You know, I put myself in situations just to get the experience, right?
Nice.
Like, let's say I'll apply for a job. You know, I know there's a background check coming, and I'm probably not going to get it, but I'll put myself in that situation just to go through the experience so I can learn from that, so I can try to break barriers in place, right? You know, like I recently did that with
Yeah.
another job. You know, it's
Yep.
a 245G facility, which means I can't work there with 2 second-degree assaults. But I'm going to see if I can push this systemic barrier and try to break it. Wow.
That's huge. That's huge. That's huge. Wow. Break the systemic barrier. Wow. That's powerful. Now, thank you for that. If you could pass the mic to Kelsey. Kelsey, I know that you were sharing about how you were like, look, just be honest with yourself, that was what was able to break that weight of guilt and shame and move you towards more responsibility and repair. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so a lot of my guilt and shame from my crime stayed with me during my bid. There was a lot of days that I could say that I prayed on it. I had to break down and I had to pray on it and say, well, I did what I did. I can't stay guilty about it forever. I'm ashamed. I'm embarrassed that I did it. I'm embarrassed every day. I'm still embarrassed that I that I went that far. But once I let it go,
Yeah.
now I'm happier. I'm healthier. I'm able to wake up like with a positive mindset now and not cry. I'm not crying myself to sleep at night, wishing that I could change things or go back to that day, because I can't. There's no possible way that I can change change the past. It is already over. It's over. And so that guilt, it lives there. It's there, but it's not as heavy as it was. And now I'm able to move forward and find my purpose in life.
Ooh, that's
my
so good.
children. That's my children. That's finding good work. I haven't been out that long, but I can feel that what I'm doing, what I'm being prepared for, is something so great. What I've learned from you guys is something that nobody will ever get enough words to explain how important that is in somebody's life. To embrace that, embrace all of that guilt, all of that shame, speak about it, and let it go.
Okay. Zay, did you have a quick hit on this one around?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
There's that book.
something there. The book. Yeah, the book.
So we don't have a ton of time to get too deep into it, but I want you guys to take a note. It's a book called Power versus Force. Has anybody heard of this book? A couple hands. I want you guys to check this out. It's called Power versus Force. It's gonna be a mind bender, especially if you look at current events and things that are going on now. You can kind of see why. So it's a little bit of woo-woo, right? But what it talked about is the power of feelings and emotions. And at the very, very bottom is shame. And this is where people tend to be when, they're like, hey, I'm thinking of taking their own lives. And I was in that space after all of my stuff came out and everybody's talking about me. Shame is the actual lowest power of emotion. And you can move up towards guilt and keep going up towards a neutral, or the middle would be courage. And then you keep moving up higher and higher towards things like love. So I want you guys to look at that book, or even if you just Google, a Google image search, Power versus Force graph.
So good.
And one of the things that I found as I kind of did that introspection and thinking about what led me to these decisions and how am I feeling, to see myself and feel myself move up that chart over the years. So going from shame to feeling guilt to feeling like there's a little bit of hope and some courage, to peace, right? And trying to feel and express those emotions and put those out. And if you think of the current state, at least of the United States, there's a lot of those negative emotions, right? Just everywhere. And so as I was able to move through that, it helped me figure out how can I look forward and try to help others. And I think that's why we're here today.
Wow. All right. That's great. Love the resource. Love the resource. Hopefully you wrote it down, took a note. I saw some folks taking a note. This is great. So I want to spend a few minutes on well-being. I think that's a really important component. Well-being and self-care to move towards our goals is necessary. And especially when we're moving towards, meaningful employment, we got to take care of our well-being. And so I'd like to know what did self-care look like for you early on in your reentry? What did yes, I'd love to, please, if we could start with Andre. What did self-care look like? And also any routines that you found helpful, if you could reflect on that.
Yeah, thank you for that. For me, before I got out of prison, someone told me, find something that you can do in prison and keep doing it when you get out and you'll stay out. And I thought it was really an odd thing, but then the more I thought about it, I realized what they were saying is you have to start that change before you get out. And for me, wellness is so important. If I can't be in a good space, I can't show up for the people I love, for my community, for the people around me. So my routine, if you know me, is running. So running was a huge part of my life before I came to prison, while I was in, and I really leaned into the running community when I got out. And so that was one area where I didn't think I was going to find community. I didn't think I was going to find all these other things. I thought it was just going to be, could go run with some people, some exercise. But that part of my wellness routine turned into my community, which turned into so many other things. So for me, we all struggle with mental health. We all struggle with these feelings. And for me, I can cope through that through running. I might be worked up, I might be angry, I have these feelings, I go out for a run, I come back. It just tones down those emotions for me. So wellness has been such a huge part of my reentry. Running has been such a huge part of my reentry journey. And it's something that I can continue to do. In prison, it was one of the few choices I had. I could get up and run when the yard's open. Now that I'm out, I can get up and I can go explore my neighborhood. I can run races. And so for me, that has just been something. I don't make any money off it. It's not, there's no work component or reentry component other than I feel good and I can show up in those spaces.
Wow, that's amazing. Love that. And it's finding something you enjoy that you connect with, right? And doing a little bit consistently.
Yeah, and I think that's the huge thing is I had, when I was in prison, I had all the time in the world. I could run a ton. And when I've gotten out, I haven't been able to show up in that space as much as I want to, but I'm still showing up. Me and Brett went for a run this morning before we came here, and it was just those little spaces to connect with people. And again, like I said earlier, with Mile in My Shoes, they've been such an incredible organization to work with and to run to change perceptions. And so I think whatever your niche is, whether it's weightlifting or walking or whatever your wellness routine is, connect with other people doing the similar thing, and you'll find community, you'll find those things with it, and it's just showing up. When you feel like it, when you don't feel like it, when it's raining, whatever the case may be. If you can show up and continue to do it long enough, you build that momentum. And when you build that momentum, it becomes a lot harder to slow down.
Wow, thank you for that. Thank you. Love that. And one of the things that I want to make sure we also touch on is that when we talk about self-care, setting healthy boundaries is a part of self-care, a very important part of self-care. I see some head nodding out there. Healthy boundaries. And so I want to just touch on that for a moment. We're winding down here to come to the Q&A portion. But Kelsey, I want to chat with you around self-care and boundaries and what boundaries, you shared a little bit about how getting in tune with your triggers helped you identify the boundaries you needed in your life. Can you talk about that a bit?
Well, yeah, through just having that time to sit down and think and going through a program called Women Healing from Trauma Therapy through EI, I was able to identify triggers that were built as a child that I was reacting on as an adult. And when I identified them while I was outside, everybody has free will.
Right.
I have to have those boundaries with certain people, a certain type of people, a certain crowd of people. It's mostly I have to have boundaries with myself. I have to enact boundaries with myself.
So just for those that might be wondering what that means, what does that look like for you? A boundary with yourself. Because so you're saying it's not about necessarily others.
No, it's not. No.
But boundaries
Yeah.
of things within your control.
Well, I think a common one that will probably resonate with a lot of people is I'm an alcoholic. I like to drink. I like the taste of liquor. I like the smell of it. I can't be around it. So that's one simple boundary that I will not put myself around people who drink. I won't hang around people who drink. Don't put me by a bar. It's a internal trigger that I will probably fail that test.
So you don't even put yourself in the mix. Don't even put yourself in the mix. Yes. Yes. What was your chair analogy? Didn't you have a chair analogy around boundary? I thought it was. Who had the chair analogy?
I did.
Yeah.
So
let's do that. Yeah.
When we were talking before this meeting today,
Yes.
in boundaries,
Yes.
the example that came to mind is when you get out and you're re-entering the world, it's like standing on a chair. And you're precarious, you feel like everybody's looking at you, but you're there. And if it's just you, you're okay. But if you try to pull somebody else up, if you try to help somebody else that is struggling, you might knock yourself off that chair and fall off. But it's a lot easier to get pulled down than to pull someone up. So just being cognizant of the precarity of reentry and setting those boundaries to protect yourself so you don't get knocked off. And then full circle, eventually that chair becomes a stage and you have a voice, and I'm here today and all of these people are here with me today, and we can share and we can get that. But initially, it's a vulnerable state, and it's really easy to get knocked off that. So just understand that as part of the process, but in time, it can turn into something great. So just acknowledging that you have to set those boundaries so you don't get knocked down.
That's really solid. And sometimes you might need a second chair at the table. Kelsey and I had a conversation about therapy. You know, you shared in our community, we're not always necessarily encouraged to embrace it. You said you used to be against it. How did that come into your self-care routine?
Well, you know, in the Black community, it's just not. You don't go outside of the house and you don't share your business with anybody else.
Oh,
It's
there
simple
it
as
is.
that. Don't talk. What goes on in the house stays in the house. You keep it that way, and that's it. Well, a condition of my release was I have to go to therapy. I have to talk about it. I have to get out there and I have to let it off my chest. Well, when I went into therapy the first day, I was like, well, what do you want to know? What do you want to talk? Why do you need to know about me? I'm here because I have to be. By the third appointment, I was like, well, do you want to talk about my past? Talk about where it all started?
I love it.
So.
I love it. All right. This is great. Well, this has been packed full of just, I'm going to say, just gems of information that have come from real life. This is real lived experience. We're all experts of our own lives. If we take the time to lean in and dig in, we can extract so much incredible information, but we have to be present to do the work. So what we're going to do is shift to the Q&A, and we're going to hear from some of you. Hopefully this conversation has stirred your curiosity. You know, curiosity is a powerful emotion as well. Be curious. Ask questions. Make sure your cup is not too full, right? Which is why you're all here today. Listen, we are prepared to pour into you, to provide you with resources. So do we have some cards ready for the Q&A? People who are already either have turned in cards, or we have one. Okay, we've got another. And then do we have a mic in the audience for, and we have a mic. Where's my mic runner, Mike? Okay, we got two. Right on. What's your name?
I'm Ross.
That's Russ. Amira and Russ are in the house with the mics. So you also can ask your own question. If you have a question, I want you to slide your hand up, though, so they can be on deck, so they each can kind of move around and find you. In fact, why don't we start with somebody in the audience with their hand up, then I can take a look at, and it looks like we have a gentleman here. So we'll start in the back, and then we'll come up front with this gentleman. So if you would, just say your name. Actually, come on and stand on up, if you would. Stand on up so we can, yeah. If you got the mic, you're on your feet.
My name is Will.
Will, and if you could, just state the question, and if it's for somebody specifically, then who you'd like to hear from, great. Just call them out.
For the whole group, I think all of you collectively could really answer this question.
Okay, we'll pick
So I didn't have a felony, but I had some charges, a little context. So I relate with your guys' story. But I've always had, I think we all do. We all have a type of soul to us, I hope, So the good parts and the bad parts, how do you keep those good parts intact while society is abusing you with what you don't want to be as you're making that progress? So as you're already like where you're at now, so you're a positive person now, and you're doing your work and you're doing a great job. And how do you deal with you know you are not that. How do you deal with the abuse that people think you're that because of their own perspective, you know?
Who would like to answer that? Okay, great.
For me, it's normalizing the barriers of reentry, right? Like it's Andre talked about it. It's a mind shift, you know, realizing that things are going to get hard, but you just keep on pushing because you know you want better, and you're going to get better if you keep on pushing. You got to normalize that there is going to be barriers in place and things are going to get hard, but don't let that discourage you. Just keep on pushing until you get where you want to be in life.
Kelsey, did you do any restorative justice stuff? So here's something that's really interesting. All 4 of us up here did restorative justice. And what I've learned about that is that thinking about what they might have gone through, right? So a lot of times the people that were giving me the hardest time saying all this stuff online, I'm like, damn, I know they're going through something at home too, right? And so having that that self-awareness of, yep, I messed up. The reason they're yelling at me is because they're dealing with something on their own, and just letting them sit into that, right? Nobody that has helped me and been, you know, encouraging of me is trying to like put me down based on their bad stuff. It's only the people that are dealing with their own bad stuff that are trying to put me down. So once I realized that, I was like, oh, you go ahead and go over there, do your thing. I'm gonna be over here doing good, right? So.
All right, great. Thank you. All right, we've got a question ready up in the front, and then I've got one on a card here. So tell us who you are and your question.
Yes, my name's
Yes.
Damon.
Hi, Damon.
And, I'm going through this journey myself. I'm experiencing it right now. I just recently got out of prison. But immediately when you guys begin to speak, the first thing with reentry, I thought about mental health, trauma, and addiction. And that's a big thing for me.
Okay.
And it's something that is prevailing in society right now. And a lot of times it's not spoken about. I just want to know if y'all encountered that, how did you deal with your own personal mental health and acknowledging that?
Wow. I'll take it.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you for
perfect.
that
Andre.
question. I really think that being incarcerated is traumatic, right? The things you go through, the stuff you go through, going through the justice system, dealing with mental health, dealing with those things are all part of it. And oftentimes I think people think that getting released is this celebratory time, a date on the calendar, you hit that and everything is better. But you're still left with the trauma of incarceration. You're still left with the fractured relationships. You're still left with all these other pieces. You're still left with trying to think in a world when you've been in a box for so long. You have to name them, and it's okay to name them. I deal with all 3 of those, and substance use addiction, right? Like, those are part of who I am, and when you can talk about them, and like she said, with going to therapy, hesitant, and then you open up and you talk about it, and if you can have those conversations, you can heal. And when you can heal, you can get past it. But if you can never talk about it and it's a secret, it's gonna have so much power over you. But when you can just own it and say, this is part of me and I need help, then you can start that process. But it's not easy, but I really appreciate that question.
Sure.
It's, for me, like he said, you have to own it, and then you can let go of that shame also, because addiction comes with shame. There's something inside of everybody that's an addict who, it just eats at them for all of the pain that you caused your family, the friends around you, all the relationships that you lost. Once you, with the time that you've done and the sobriety that you've kept being out, stand on it. That's who you are now. Don't let anybody or any situation tear you down. Pray about it, because there's going to be times where you're going to be tested. People aren't going to hold your hand or coddle you and stop doing what they're doing because you're around. And this is your time to be loyal to yourself. And you've had time to think about it while you were inside. You had time to think about it before you got out. We knew this day was coming, and we're here now. So let's just do it and keep doing it and keep doing it and then keep doing it, because this is a new you. You're not even in that book anymore. Those people are over there, and you're over here.
Woo. Yes. That's good. It's good timing for, I think it really feeds into another question that we have here from someone. I'm going to read it. It says 160941. Just the fact that I remember the number, I'm identifying with it. How can a person forget their prison number and stop identifying with it? I don't remember any of my old phone numbers, but I remember that prison number. Okay, so, are one of you feeling, I'm having a moment up here that just lands in my heart.
Yeah, mine was 246968, right? That is something that I will never forget either, and I understand how that feels. You know, and I recently read an article, and it talked about at what point does a person returning home from prison become known as a productive member of society,
Yes.
rather than a person going through reentry. And me personally, I think I'll always be known as that. You know, I don't know if that's ever gonna change. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like once
sure.
people learn about
Yeah.
my past, it's just, you know. But yeah, it's just it's ingrained in you. You're that was your identity. That was who you were for years, months, or whatever you were in there for. And it's I'll always remember mine too. I'll never forget it.
I think one of the things I've tried to do is figure out how I can use this story to help others, right? So a project I'm working on, it's called Restore Nova, and it's all about helping the family members of incarcerated people while we're gone. I found that there's a ton of lawyers that want to take our money. There's a bunch of prison consultants, and then there's some really great groups that do reentry afterwards. But there's still some openings as far as how do you help specifically the family members while their loved ones are gone. I think about that because my wife and my mom didn't know what to do, right? When I was gone, they're like, oh, shoot, we haven't paid these bills. Who's going to mow the lawn? Who's going to do all these things that you took care of? So despite the fact that I have this prison number and like I was that guy for a while, I can now take that energy and put it out towards something positive, and try to help other people. So yeah, trying not to get caught into that permanent, I was this person and it's always going to be around, but now, you know, I'm just like Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Like, hey, I went through this experience and I can use that story to help somebody else.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Isaiah. Whew. Yes, 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 yes. And what I'm hearing is, while that number is the sacred history, you're choosing to give it a new meaning to help others. Yeah. We have time for one more question. I'm going to take somebody from the audience, and that hand went up. Ooh.
I already got the microphone.
Oh, we got 1, 2, and all right. What is your name, sir?
My name is Marcel.
Marcel.
I'm 9 years after incarceration.
Okay.
And getting to see you guys up here, Isaiah and Brett, I've gotten to observe your struggles and your journeys. Here's my question
Yeah.
for all of you. Give me one word or phrase that makes you different than the person that says I can't.
Ooh, roll it back. Roll it back. So one word that makes you different between the person, say it again, between the...
I can't get this job.
I can't. Between the person who says I can't and the person, okay.
I
That's
think for me, it's I keep trying.
That was 3 words, but that's okay.
He said phrase, but.
Yeah. All right.
I guess it would be 2 words, but if I had to simplify it into
that's
one
okay.
word, it would just be why,
It'd
right?
be
Or
what?
why not? I deal with this a lot when I'm talking to people around fitness. They're trying to lose weight, they just can't seem to do it. I'm like, well, why? Like, what are the biggest hurdles? And they will literally tell me everything that they need me to help them with. Right? Systems, process, accountability, right? Eat too much. I'm like, okay, well, here's the thing. This is what we need to fix. So if somebody says, I can't, why? And then they'll give you all the things, and then boom, here's A, B, C, D, here's the things we're going to work on.
Wow.
Resilient. You know, I've persevered to get where I am today, you know, and that's, I guess, resiliency. You know what I mean? Like, it's just keep on pushing.
Wow.
You will. There's going to be a time and a place for everything, and with everything that everybody has said, you will. Right now, you might feel like you can't, but eventually you will.
Ooh, that's a word right there.
If
You will.
If you want it bad enough, you will.
Wow. Wow. You will. Man. Brother Q, you already know I'm coming for you. I said I was. Can somebody hand Q the mic, please? I'd like to hear your word as well. I'm asking, this gentleman who's in the audience is also a powerful team member for Twin Cities Rise, and he's one of our longest standing team members at Twin Cities Rise. And I know that this conversation is dear to your heart, but if you could please answer that question and then why you picked that word.
Okay, Quentin Osgood. I was in the system for 26 straight years at 15 felonies, and longest sit down was 8 years. The one word, belief. The one word is belief. Until I learned that, okay, you guys know I'm with Twin Cities Rise. I've been there 21 years as an employee, celebrated Saturday. Been there 23 years. Been there 23 years, and what we're all talking about is core hurts. Core hurts are false judgments of self that appear real. And that's where that question comes from an individual who was myself.
Yes.
That didn't believe.
Yes.
But here's the key. You don't have to believe, but you do have to speak into the atmosphere of you internally first, and it will bring birth to I am lovable, I am important, I am valuable, therefore I am empowered, showered to never again be an emotional coward and think negative about me. Ooh wee.
Okay, Brother Q. Okay, Brother Q.
You don't even have to believe it, but belief has to come in somewhere. You don't have to believe it because I didn't believe I was lovable. I didn't believe I was important. I didn't believe I was valuable. So how could I be empowered? But it was an affirmation. We have to affirm ourselves something. I remember the first time they started talking to me about that at Twin Cities Rise, all I heard was 1080, affirmative. We got him. Because I heard it for 26 years.
Yeah.
That's almost 30 years.
That's real.
So I didn't believe it, but it was a feel good. Okay, go there with me. Let's go. Let's go. We ready? Say, I am. Let's say it in sync. I am lovable. I am important. I am valuable. I am empowered. I am lovable. I am important. I am valuable. I am empowered. It's an affirmation. You have to tell yourself continuously. If it's a feel good and it's good, tell yourself sooner or later you will believe.
Thank you, Quentin. So, woo, thank you, Brother Quentin. Thank you, Brother Quentin. I appreciate you. So I want to, before we go anywhere else, we're coming to a close. I want to thank our panel. You have brought hope, inspiration, and you've helped us understand the strength that it really takes to succeed after incarceration and to live into your purpose. So thank you for your time. Thank you for being present. And then to all of you, before we head out, I just want to say that whether you're, fresh, brand new on your journey of reentry, or maybe you've been walking that journey a long time, what we want you to know and be reassured of is that you are not alone. And you are not called to do it alone. So I'm going to encourage you to know that our doors are open at Twin Cities Rise for training, get you solid and ready for, full-time meaningful employment is the goal and the outcome. And to get you that inner work, that's called emotional intelligence, so we can get you personally empowered. We want you to join us. Our doors are open. Visit the table. Get to know, we've got a beautiful staff here to serve you today. Get to know them, ask questions. Also, take advantage of this time today. This is an investment for you. Say, this is an investment for me. This is an investment for me. Yeah. You are the priority. Say, I am the priority. That's right. So what that means is take the time, visit the booths, find out that you're going to have an opportunity to take up, I saw the lady setting up the camera, professional photos. You're going to have an opportunity to practice interview skills. I happen to know that just right after this, next door at 11 a.m., there is a personal empowerment workshop that the director of the Parman Institute is going to be delivering. I saw him in the room a moment ago. So go sit in, y'all. You don't want to miss this, okay? I implore you, take the time. But this is your investment to take. Maximize it. Everybody say maximize. Yeah, get everything you came for today. We thank you. Have a great rest of your day.